they would have attained 100 years this year. So it will be centenary celebrations throughout the country, and this is no different. And this is done on the eve of the 9th of August as we celebrate Women's Month, and hosted by the Department of Arts and Culture. And we're coming to you live from the Cape Peninsula University of Technology in Cape Town. And in case you just joined us and wondering what exactly is happening, and that's what it is. And thank you so much to Mama Pumla Mila, who is cousin to Mama Sisulu. She was taking us through the journey of a child who became selfless. She became a mother before time. She was a teen mom of her siblings. She was the second born of 5 children, and she's had to take care of them, look after them, cook for them at that young age, and did not give up. She ensured that she registers, did teaching a little bit, and ended up with nursing, became a nurse to continue looking after her family. And at a time when she felt she was old enough, she moved to Johannesburg and Wadibana Nobuti, and that was Utata Walter Sisulu, and the rest is history, as they say. And today we're able to celebrate both the Tetiwe and Sisulu families. Enkosi kakhulu, Mama. Yes, it does deserve a round of applause. But we are going to be going to the news headlines at exactly 30:30. So I'm not sure if you are enough with 4 minutes, or we'll come back after the news headlines, Dr. Trunette. And all right, we are going to be talking, reflecting on some of the lessons that we can learn from her as a nurse in taking care of patients. I mean, Mama Albertina Sisulu, she comes from a generation. Imagine when your shift ends at 6 p.m. and you are banished, you can't go to work, and somebody else does your shift. And I think it's Dr. Danisa Baloyi's mom who would have to work for her on her behalf, and they would share her salary. Do we have that kind of comradeship in the days that we live in? Do we have that kind of passion? Because at some stage they would have to hide some of the comrades who would have been caught by bullets. Do we have that kind of dedication, that kind of passion, and also reflecting on some of the challenges that we still face in our healthcare system? And that is going to be from Dr. Trunette Joseph. Let's give her a round of applause.
Good evening. The theme of the centenary celebrations of Mama Albertina Sisulu, Women United in Moving South Africa Forward, I think is an apt call to action on the eve of National Women's Day. Women such as her, through our women's and other organizations, stood shoulder to shoulder with our menfolk in the struggle against apartheid and the triple oppression of women, namely race, gender, and class. These women leaders killed the stereotype that women belonged in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant. Way back in 1956 already, they showed unequivocally that women could organize and mobilize for freedom as effectively and as successfully as men, that women could be great and successful leaders in their own right. The issue that I want to raise tonight for discussion is how we in higher education can build on the legacy left by women such as Mama Albertina, Lillian Goy, Helen Joseph, and Sophie de Bruyn, the leaders in the march in 1956, to advance women in leadership in higher education and to address gender-based violence in the same sector. Without negating the progress we have made for women and with gender issues in higher education, we cannot deny that we face multiple challenges, such as the glass ceiling for women, that result in the underrepresentation of women at senior management level, for example. Research shows that 23 of our universities have had a slight increase in women at executive level. However, the ratio between executive men and women in both comprehensive universities and universities of technology remain disproportionate. Gender discrimination and unequal power relations are significant challenges in this context. And we have to address those if we want to change this picture, which is in stark contrast with how our student profile is changing. Women students account for more than 50% of students currently in higher education. Then there are the social and institutional stereotypes that women cannot be leaders or high-level executives. The stereotype that women should remain mothers, nurturers, and in care-based professions is perpetuated daily. Patriarchy and masculinism continue to rule in the private and public domain. So yes, stereotypes play a strong role in sexism and gender oppression. For example, we stereotype women's management styles as emotional, as less efficient than men. If men speak strongly, we say they are assertive. And if women do the same, they are labeled as aggressive. Another huge challenge is sexual and gender-based violence on our campuses, which led to the recent shutdown of roads and protests at MMU. It is also important to not forget the LGBTIQ community. Sexual orientation, discrimination, stigmatization, and the issue of corrective rape. Fortunately, it's not all doom and gloom. Many universities have a transformation and social cohesion office where staff is working on these issues, as is the case at CPUT. Many universities, including CPUT, either have or are working on gender-based violence policies and strategies. And CPUT, for example, is launching their GBV policy and strategy within this month under the Transformation and Social Cohesion Office, and our council has approved a budget for this very important work. So, to avoid fragmentation, I do think that a transformative gender mainstreaming approach could serve as a framework under which we can address all gender issues, including gender-based violence.
And I guess some of the points will come in your concluding remarks. And I've been informed that for us to get more time to interact, because as you know, the style of SAFM radio we have is Gesh. So we're going to have drama at 2:45, and therefore by 10:45 we must have wrapped. And that means we must have engaged with you as well. So I'm going to allow, I've been informed reliably that we have been given time off the news headlines. Thank you very much for being here, Deputy Minister. I guess it's because you are here that we can skip the news. I'd like to now invite Ms. Faith Sibia, who's going to give us her piece as chair of Mulberry Campus, and just reflecting on the many challenges that young people are facing. I don't know if when I say many, I extend your time to 20 minutes, but I'm hoping you'll do that in 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Faith, as Mama has already said, and I'm the chairperson of the SRC in Mulberry Campus. Now, when I have to speak about Mama Albertina Sisulu, I'm going to keep on mixing my languages because, hey, data bundles deplete is the English. So I feel like, yes. Yeah, so when you speak about Mama Albertina Sisulu, going back to seeing where she was born it's all into a village. It's called Etsomo. Yes, thank you. In a village called Icamama, and she was born there. She grew up there, and she was born to a mother that was ill at that point because there was that wave of Spanish flu. And that would already indicate she had so many responsibilities. And the with where she comes from, and even the structure of the family, being born in that family and having so much siblings, she's born into a typical family of any other South African child, and I believe there's a child out there who's going through the same thing. You understand? So we can relate to her life story. And being born there, she went to school and became a nurse. And this is what I heard when she was doing an interview, and she was asked, hey, you said you didn't want to get married. when Utata wanted to get married to you. She was like, no, man, I have so many responsibilities. And even on the day of marriage, she was told by one of the great leaders, the great first lawyer that we've had and played so much great impact on trying to turn and dismantle the system of apartheid that was pushing black people down, and said to her, you know what, I want to warn you that you're getting married to a man that's already married to a nation. And that is wowing, because indeed the man was married to a nation that has even led to a point where Umama was held in detention, arrested for 90 days, and became the first black woman that was arrested under the general laws of the 1963 Act. And when she was arrested there was something she was constantly told, and she was threatened, Umana, you know what, your kids are not safe, we're coming for them, and all of that. And you'd expect that a woman would crack under such pressure. Did she crack? The answer is no. That is why we're celebrating women that are strong enough to come out and say, Mana, you know what, whatever I go through, I'm here and I'm going to stand. You understand? And it's not some fairy tale, it's something that happened here. And guess what? You can also do it. No matter what position you hold, no matter whatever position you hold, you can be able to do it. And this other thing that came as a great highlight when I was going through her life story. You know, the Bantu education, which was a system that was designed to oppress black people. You know, to fight a system, you need to have your own system in place. And guess, Umama, what she decided to do is, okay, fine, there's a system that's going on, and I'm going to turn my own house into a classroom. And if I was out there in the streets, I'd say that's dope. You know, that's so dope, because she understands the power of the system. If I do my own system that's going to override the system that's already oppressing people, then we're going somewhere. Yes, when you look at it, you feel like, Maramams, you're wasting your time. But yes, look at us now. Yeah, but she saw it, she foresaw it, and said, Mana, this is how I want to see things going on. And yes, we haven't reached that level of being up there, but it's something that we're working on. And another very amazing highlight that I've learned, especially as a young woman and also in a leadership position, there were women who came to her, Mamu Susan Shabangu, that came to her and said, you know what, moms, teach us how to lead as young people. And those women were called the Sisulu girls because they were under her leadership. You know, when she explains why she had that or allowed herself to be a place where they can draw out wisdom from, she said, you know what, I want to create a petticoat leadership of young women that are going to come through. You know why? Because she understood that revolution is a will. One generation takes from the next generation to the next generation to the next generation.
Bopa, okay? Thank you very much. Viva Mama Sisulu, viva. Viva. Lest we are accused of turning a government event into a mob thingy. We are celebrating Mama Sisulu. Mama Sisulu be imbogodo. Imbogodo that lifts her fist up and say viva. Athi malibongwe igama lamakhosikazi. Athi igama lamakhosikazi malibongwe. So I'm going to humbly request that our Vice Chancellor shares with us what the university is doing. We've seen the challenges that are raised by young women in terms of safety. What is the program currently at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology? What are the programs and plans in place? We'll reflect on that as we honor a giant. And as he does that, immediately after that, we'll hear from a Gender Commission. But I would like for you to begin to send your questions, please. We are going to take a commercial break at 22. And I would like you to please send your questions through so that we can begin to engage the panel.
Thank you very much, Program
Join the
Director.
party on Top Billing this Saturday as Jeannie's in New York learning to tailor runway-ready showstoppers. South African foodie in Greece, Vicky Yuli, shows Mups the art of the perfect iced coffee. And for interior designer turned construction company CEO Tobekile Ndlovu, there is no upper limit. That's Top Billing this Saturday evening at 6 on SABC 3.
Watch EFC live in Cape Town this Saturday at Grand West.
The bank is going down.
I'm angry. 2017 financial statements of VBS did not...
Stand by. Coming back.
West. Watch it live on SABC 3. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Here, there, and everywhere.
We are really trailblazers as an institution. And of course, I also have a think tank. And this think tank is actually made of very strong women who are always calling me to order. And I would like really in this podium to call them to stand up. And one of them is actually right here. Can you stand up, Ms. Nonko Sicholona? And the other one is Dr. Tunette Joseph. She has just actually spoken. And of course, I don't know if Dr. Naidu is here from EMS. She's actually driving this agenda there. So this is actually some of the initiatives that we're saying. We're not paying lip service to them. But as an institution, we are very conscious when it comes to issues affecting women. And we are also looking at issues of rape, if it's actually happening at the institution. And we have to ensure that we don't have any underreporting. And we have to ensure that now we actually put measures in place and we actually discipline people who are actually ensuring that now are not actually towing the line when it comes to these particular issues. These are sensitive issues, and I must actually say that now higher education in general is actually facing this scourge. And it's very, very important that collectively we actually assist each other. We don't know where this phenomenon is coming from, but we have to ensure that we don't allow it to actually take this particular critical space of higher education that we know for years. Higher education institution has been a model, but it looks like there are things that we don't actually do right in terms of ensuring that our women are safe and also empowering our men folk, also empowering our professors to say, when you supervise, that power dynamics in terms of actually ensuring that you supervise them professionally, but the relationship between yourself and your student as a supervisor, it does not actually extend beyond that professional engagement.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndlapo. And unfortunately, Commissioner is writing like me, so I'm not able to see her handwriting, and I'm going to humbly request that she introduces herself and tell us her constituency and give us a very strong views on how we can build together as we bring along boy children. We have so many programs. We complain about men being trash. Where are they from? Commissioner.
Good evening, Commissioner Nomasonto Mazibugo from the Gender Commission.
If you can please lift up the mic so that it comes closer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to our listeners. This is Commissioner Nomasonto Mazibugo from the Gender Commission as a social cohesion advocate through the arts and culture nation building. I must recognize my fellow commissioner, Pinky Sobahle, who is deployed to the Western Cape. Yes, it is true. I would like firstly to recommend and applaud our girl children who are in leadership and the women who are in leadership in UPE. That today, the Vice Chancellor is boasting to say the women are in charge. Thank you, Vice Chancellor. And we send condolences to the family of Kensani Masego. The boy child starts by being incubated in the mother's womb. By the same time when this boy child is born, it is only patriarchal that when a boy child is born, the powers are given by the dead by oppressing the mother. Nevertheless, the Department of Women, together with the Gender Commission, we're working together with the boy child and the girl child, because when they are given chores in the house, it is when the father says, go and do gardening whilst the girl is cooking. And the children are now coerced to wear pink as girls and blue as boys. Now we're saying as the Gender Commission, let us grow a safe, sane society by taking children to say you are equal from the womb. As you enter this world, you are equal and you'll be treated the same, giving the same orders in the classroom. And let me remind you, Griselda, that in the classroom, it is the girl children that are in the top 5. As they go up, they are led. As they go up, they are led now. The girl children are interrupted by now. So it is when the girl child is given more power to say, don't lose your goal, work hard. Your boy, your brother in the classroom is the same brother in the campus. And it is said that the safety of the girl child is not safe in the university, Vice Chancellor, because the very securities, they are raping our children. The very securities, they don't look after the children. We have, as the Gender Commission went to the university, we called the Rose University to say, now we found children getting sex for marks. Let us not go for that the children will be given. Work hard, my girls, in UPE. Don't allow the lecturer to say, I will give you 70 or 90% via your body. Your body is you. Look after yourself first. Work hard. As the Gender Commission is saying, let's unite our children. Let's unite the boy child and the girl child. And we're saying to girl children, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Work as hard as what we see in Nonkosi and the panelists here to say, the sky is the limit. I don't favor sundowns. I'm saying to the girls in this institution, let us work hard.
Thank you very much, Sis Nomasonto, and we hear you. Oh, yes, ngoba uyazazi ukuthi no mic next to the speaker. We humbly apologize for that. Thank you very much, Sis Nomasonto. And I guess it begins with our homes where we affirm the young girl. If you don't tell her that she's worthy, she's important, she's beautiful, someone else is. Someone else is. I'm worried that this format that we requested for might sabotage me, because some people really write like me. They really write like me. I know my handwriting is exactly like this. So I'm going to take a spot break. We pay the bills, and I'm going to humbly request that the people who've given us their questions, if you can just come forward and represent yourself, because some of the handwritings that are here. All right, we'll be right back.
University South Africa and the National connected with SABC Education to put together an 8-part documentary series to inform and empower you with knowledge and information about the National Research Foundation and University of South Africa.
By the way, commercial break is only 2 minutes.
Research and
it's not that kind of break where we go for tea. It's only 2 minutes.
Join me, Nayelu Fondwana, every Wednesday night between 10:30 and 11. A 30-minute documentary that will give you an in-depth understanding of what it is that they do. Universities, South Africa, and the National Research Foundation, in collaboration with SABC, leading the conversation.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
Good evening once again, and thank you so much for tuning in. We're coming to you live from the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, and we are celebrating Mama Albertina Sisulu. Shall I say Mama Nonsikelelo Albertina Thethiwe Sisulu? We're celebrating her greatness, we're celebrating her organizing skills, we're celebrating her servanthood, we're celebrating her as a child of the soil, we're celebrating her as a struggle icon. And thank you so much for tuning in. We welcome your questions and comments as well. Do join us via various media platforms. You can send us an SMS at 40938. You can join us on Twitter and Facebook at SAFM Radio and hashtag SAFM Lifetime. It's not Lifetime Live. I have to keep reminding myself that I'm standing on Ashraf Gada's post, and that's SAFM, The Viewpoint. And thank you very much for joining us. We're now going to take questions. Please do indicate who you are and who your question is directed to.
Thank you. My name is Pinky Sobahle. I'm a commissioner in the Commission for Gender Equality. We're not trying to take the floor as Mazubuko has done so before. I want to applaud the Vice Chancellor of the institution for the gender-based violence policy. And I want to say CGE has conducted transgender transformation hearings in a number of institutions. And what we found out was that there are many of these institutions do not have sexual harassment policies. I guess your gender-based violence policy will include sexual harassment. And it is easy, in many cases, easy to talk racism, but sexism tends to be very subtle. And we found that the way of addressing that would be through policies. And I'm just wondering, posing a question to this institution as to, besides the gender-based violence policy, are you looking at other policies like recruitment, like procurement, like what happens in the classroom? So I'm challenging, so whilst we're congratulating you on the policy that you are going to launch, what other policies are you looking at? Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are people with better handwritings, and I'm going to attempt to ask the questions. This question is meant for the Vice Chancellor once again. Where is the Vice Chancellor? Is there anyone taking note of these questions on his behalf? Thank you very much. Apart from transformation and the policy, what about security? And like 3 question marks. Our residences are not a safe environment. Example, something, house parents. You would know that, right? House parents have tried to view so much to report safety measures, but nothing is being done. A girl was raped on our campus in Belleville. Guys can pass security and go to girls' rooms. How is this possible? Please do something about this urgently. Siyavuma. All right, another question directed at Mepinki Kekano. This Cape Town University of Technology students representative mentioned the role Sisulu played in nurturing and mentoring young women. And example given was Susan Shabango, etc. To what degree have women in leadership in the present day followed through with this? How can we do better in this regard? And that's from Ms. Nomatamsanga Masiko. who is from the Center for the Study of Violence and Reconciliation. My name is Cindy Mkuteni, an entrepreneur in the ICT industry and founder of the Golf Foundation. Question: how can universities play part in grooming the female? Both female and male, eh? Both female and male need the grooming. There are some males who just do not shave properly, who do not take care of armpits properly, who do not take care of their shoes properly, who do not take care of... All right, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to humbly request that Ayaka Ngoga, we do want to represent your question. If you can just please come through and represent yourself.
1 2 1 2.
There's no 1 2 1 2. All right, we're taking. Let's respond to these questions, and then we'll take another round.
Thank you. Thank you, Griselda, and the listeners. Thank you, Griselda, and the listeners. I think this is a very important question, which some of us will also have to share our experience with as we grew up in the movement and the ANC in particular. We have been held by hands by the current leadership and other women who came before us. And we had an opportunity, some of us, to be led by Bomme Betha Kowa and all other women, Mama Sisulu and them, when we were very young. Of course, we were not very close to them because we were in our provinces, but we participated in the leadership at our provincial level. What is important and what we see very missing is that level of mentoring, that level of holding hands, and the level of saying to our kids, we all come from the dusty rural areas. We have not made it on our own. It is because there were other women, as they were rising, they also held us by their hands. We have to go back to that culture and make sure that we mentor our young women. We tell them that we were not born like this, we were not born leaders, we were nurtured ourselves. We were held by the hand. So the story of taking the baton to the next generation is very critical, and it's upon us. Thank you very much.
A follow-up question, Deputy Minister. Where did the pull head down syndrome come from? If we walk in the giants of your Mama Albertina Sisulu, who, as they rose, they lifted. What do we do with the current culture of senior, be it a politician or a CEO, that view young people as a threat, instead of seeing them as an opportunity and a teachable moment?
You know, the other time I had an opportunity, and it was when we were celebrating Power on the 31st of July at Derco. And many voices were coming to say, you know, as women, we are not supporting each other and so on. And we then started to say, but hang on, let's go back and look at what is happening. In most cases, as women, we do support each other. The challenge has been we allow other parties to make us to fight amongst ourselves. That's the biggest challenge. So we have to really look at these things differently. We must find each other. Of course, we must put each other at various positions based on merit. We are not saying we must support a woman because it's a woman. Let's support Pinky because Pinky has that capacity to make sure that we move forward. Because sometimes you put Pinky there and the next thing you set her for failure. But what is also important is that let us not allow other parties to make us to fight amongst ourselves.
Thank you very much. I saw a Premier of Northern Cape, Ms. Sylvia Lucas, moving like she wanted to say something about the empowerment of women and, lifting as you rise. We recognize you, May, and we know the work that you do in lifting up women. Your contribution.
Thank you very much, Griselda, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I was listening to what my comrade was saying. And I want to emphasize that, in particular, Mama Bertha Kowa and Mama Sophie Williams de Bruin were two ladies when we started I became the provincial secretary of the Women's League in my province, and we started to attend NEC meetings. They were always telling us about how they received, particularly those in exile, how they received the young women and how they groomed them. And for us, it's very important. But what I have experienced is that when you see this issue of pull hair down, it is when we are insecure of who we are.
Yeah.
It is the biggest issue that made women to think that young people can become a threat to them. In my office, whenever I get an opportunity, I give a woman the chance to occupy that space. One of the security teams that is my bodyguards, the commander is a woman.
There you go.
Because I asked them.
It's a conscious decision.
I asked them.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvia. Unfortunately, we have to do news. That's how live radio works. Thank you very much for that contribution. And thank you for tuning in. We're coming to you live from the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. And this is brought to you by the Department of Arts and Culture. We'll be celebrating Mama Albertina Sisulu. And right now, here's the news with Greg Hose.
SABC.
Another cash heist and arrests after KZN deaths. Good evening. A group of armed men has robbed a cash vehicle outside a farm near Belstrip on the Cape West Coast. They escaped with an undisclosed amount of cash. It's unclear if anyone was injured during the heist. Police say they are probing the incident. Meanwhile, in Bloemfontein, police have made a quick arrest following a cash heist that happened at a local petrol station. An undisclosed amount of cash, as well as 3 illegal firearms, were found in the suspect's car. The provincial police commissioner said.
Any more questions? Please forward your questions. If you know that you write like me, please come and grab a mic. We humbly request those questions. If you know you write like me, Zwagala next to me.
Police have arrested 3 people in connection with the death of 2 children after a large rock was thrown from a bridge over the N2 highway onto a passing car near Tonga on the KwaZulu-Natal North Coast in December last year. The death of the 16-year-old girl and a 7-year-old brother caused a public outcry and complaints of similar bridge attacks. Their father was driving the car at the time. Police spokesperson Tim Dare says a team of detectives arrested 3 people on charges of murder and attempted murder.
Please don't forget to indicate who your question is directed to. I've got a question from Apiwe. Who would you like to respond to this question? Apiwe? Mama Mazbu. Okay, and goes Commissioner Mazbu. All right. I'll tell you the question. It just didn't have VC. Won't come a question now. You guys have to have an indaba of sorts.
Either you give us the 30% and you give us part of the shafts that we want.
This evening is about Mama Sisulu. Please, dear.
What we need is what is in the mining charter, and they must implement that. That's all that we're asking from them. And the end goal is that if they do not respond, I'm not sure they are going to operate.
The Western Cape Premier Helen Zillers confirmed that she was approached for the position of Cape Town Mayor. Patricia Dillon announced her resignation last week following internal battles with the DA over governance issues in the city of Cape Town. Dillon will stay on as mayor until the end of October. Zilla, however, remained mum on the details and declined to comment further. The DA's Western Cape leader, Nkosi Madikizela, said their preferred candidate for the position would be announced within the next month. South African award-winning female farmer, Brother Chitsunge, has urged emerging women farmers not to give up in this male-dominated sector. She was speaking at the US Embassy workshop in Pretoria on land. She says she strongly believes that at the end of the land debate, women of the country will be the big winner.
To be a farmer, it's not an easy thing. I know how much I've had to invest. It's a lot. Education, skills is very important. But as a woman, you persevere. What can a woman not do? Persevere as usual, and eventually we get there. So I'm looking up to women to now take ownership and asking the men to just give us a chance on this land. So perhaps when they're doing all this land expropriation, this can need to be considered that it goes to women first.
This may seem messy and tedious. The people who are listening are saying absolutely brilliant. You have to give yourselves a round of applause.
Fell 3 runs short. The Proteas were 9 wickets down. However, the Proteas have won the series, having already bagged 3 one-dayers in the five-match series. The top story is that a group of armed men has robbed a cash vehicle outside of Farmia Veldrip on the Cape West Coast. They escaped with an undisclosed amount of cash. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Mills.
Afternoon Express for daily recipes to keep you inspired in the kitchen. Tune in on Mondays as we put together nutritious 5-ingredient meals. Join our Tuesday cook-along with easy-to-follow dinner ideas and a weekly celebrity guest. And on Thursdays, it's conscious cooking as we explore healthier and more sustainable alternatives to our favorite. That's Afternoon Express, weekdays at 4:30 p.m. only on SABC 3. The stage is yours.
Stand by.
The Viewpoint, 8 to 10 p.m. on SAFM.
Share in for us tomorrow evening, and we're having this very special broadcast celebrating Mama Albertina Sisulu at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, and this is brought to you by the Department of Arts and Culture, and we're celebrating Mama's centenary. Before we took an ad break, we had so many questions for the Chancellor. But before the Vice Chancellor responds, I'd like MEC of Education in the Northern Cape to also just help us acknowledge the gaps in educating about our struggle icons. That, you know, when I got to learn about the few things that I learned about Mama Albertina Sisulu, I asked myself that who is responsible for teaching us our history as authentically. I know I'm speaking on your behalf as well as SRC President, that some of the things you were coming across, it's like, wow, I didn't know that, because we can draw strength from those who have walked the path before.
Okay, good night to everybody. Yeah? It's a privilege to be, it's a privilege to be here, and I'm proud to be part of the women who also grew up. And I want also to tell Pinky, Deputy Minister, when I grew up, we heard about Pau. I was part of Pau. Pau showed me the ropes. I of Pau, Common Gwen Maslango, where we, Mama Winnie them, and them. And to me, it was a privilege to be among strong women. And as MEC of Education today, it wasn't a given. It was because of the leadership of our struggle icons that we were there. And I can still remember Zakele Shongwe, they are still here, and I was part of the gender focal persons then. And through gender education, we could see what difference we as a woman can do. And after everything and every year, I was empowered by a woman premier, female premier, who also showed us the ropes, leadership skills. And Mama Sisulu was one of the persons that we were privileged, as that young girl, young child of ours, saying that if you want to become something in life, it must be in your own power. And when I was in school, I always like, the not the limit. astronauts, they can go beyond the sky. Because to me, we want to see galaxy in our young children.
Thank you very much, MEC. As you respond, Dr. Nhlapo, there's another question. People in putting together the policy, and can we be briefed on what it entails, or where can students gain access to it? Go, Raf.
Thank you very much, Program Director. It's always actually tough if it's at home. But there are two things that one would like to reflect on. Universities, by their very nature, are the microcosm of a society. And what we are seeing in higher education is a reflection of a society that is actually highly fragmented. But let me actually say that security. I think staff and students of the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, they know 2015, 16, and part of 17 has been trying times for this institution. And I think we're all in the news for all the wrong reasons. And I've just ascended the office, but that is not an excuse. But the issue of security is a specialized function. And as an institution, we insource, but we realize that the capacity, we don't have appropriate capacity in terms of security. And as a consequence, what we have done, we have actually ensured that during those trying times, I think it's also online in terms of our expenditure on private security, just to ensure that our staff and students are secured. And really, in 2017, for the very first time, we managed to complete our 2017 here on campus, instead of actually writing police barracks as well as armies during the Christmas fall. And I think the other aspect that one would like to talk about is that realizing that this function is a challenge for your normal academics, for your normal engineers. What we did, we advertised for the Director Security Service, and our target were people who were in police service. I think we've seen the director here. Those are people who are actually qualified, CIRA accredited, and the way they handle issues of security is a marvel to watch. And I can actually assure our staff and students that going forward, new CPUT that we are building, they are going to have peace and tranquility. And we've started 2017 on a high footing, and there are still those old things that wanted to rear their ugly head, but we are dealing with them.
And Dr. Nhlapo, where can they access information? Because most of the questions are questions that are relating to the challenges in the institution, lest we dilute what we are here about.
Yes.
So where can information be circulated to? Where can people send their questions, internal questions regarding safety, etc.?
I think that's the second question that I was coming to. The think tank, I've talked about them, Dr. Tunette Josephs, Melanie Marais from Student Affairs up there. Can you stand up, Melanie? I've seen Melanie earlier on, from the HIV and counseling. And of course, we have Mecholone here. But we do have intranet where all the policies are. And our policies are always circulated and through newsflash, but on intranet, they can actually have that. And more information, we'll also actually put them on the 16th when we launch the GBV policy. But on top of that, we will be hosting the 18th and the 19th of August. And I think we're the only institution that is actually having this particular aspect of young women's conference across the country. And we'll be launching during that particular period again, the men's forum. We are not leaving behind our own boys to ensure that they know how to handle these beautiful flowers here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. I'm going to go through to pay the bills at 9:20. And a question was meant for Commissioner Mazibuko. What will it take for us to also begin to include children in our conversations? We seem to be only about girl children. Why should we just use the discourse of empowering women and not speak about empowering men? I think it's the same question from a different person. Skills relating to alternative strategies to manage themselves and responses.
Thank you for the question. First of all, let me acknowledge Mama. I was one of the girls that are brought by Mama Sisulu because I stayed in Meadowlands, then moved from Meadowlands to Rockville, where she was a nurse. Mama Sisulu, they treatment to our children who are albinos and mothers who used to put their to talk to door in Washington. As they were also launching the men's forum. Children are groomed the same way. It is only when parents differ. Father say go, boy, take the wheel. But we want to bring social nation building to people, because the very young is going to be your very girl upon, is going to be your daughter-in-law. So if we're building a social cohesion, strong nation, we will not find are going to grow. Africa will but share the skills. In we'll see coming back as a gender commission to come and monitor.
A follow-up question, 2 minutes to respond. One, is gender equality a message for women?
Absolutely. Mr. Mbize, you don't need to that you are better than Unomason. God saw that it was not enough that men will live alone. Made the men sleep. And he took a very, very strong part of your body, which is a rib. A rib covers everything. When Adam woke up, he said, bones, and we're equal. So equality stems from the very beginning. And we are saying as people in South Africa, equal work for equal job done. Remunerations must be the same, Griselda. Thank you.
Finish it, Clark. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that is Commissioner Nomas. And she's an advocate and a nation builder. All right, we have a question. This is more a comment on Facebook. Evening, oh well, it's one of my mothers, and I'm going to read it as is. Evening, baby girl. Sisulu was a dedicated nurse who advocated for human rights. She was the only woman amongst men during the UDF trial was invited to speak at the first International Nurses Conference held in Durban, organized by Concerned. Her dignity, stature, what she believed in, summed it all. I can't get emotional. Thank you so much, Tami Skenjan. We are now going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Remembering Mama Albertina Sisulu.
Whatever we are expected to say by the people and align with the struggle for the people. We are aligning up for the liberation of the oppressed people of this country.
This is not the first time that Rhodes University has mobilized against rape culture.
Kenzani has taken her own life because she was violated by someone she trusts.
In Free State, since the end of mid-June until now, we have 12 brutal killings, 12 ladies who've been brutally killed and 2 kids.
Got raped by my brother, and I had to live with it because at that point in my life, nobody was saying, no, justice should be served. Because we grew up in rural areas, the matter was swept under the carpet.
When we report to the police, they never take these cases seriously.
With all of us, we feel unsafe in the streets that we walk in our societies, even with the institutions that we're part of. We are not protected.
Men must stop killing women.
With scarce, without healing, with scars. This is infiltrating into. What strategies does government have to play in order to address this problem? Question mark. Because this is one of the reasons why the young men exercise some practices to our women. Their role models are getting away with it. That is
Thank you very much. It is look at the thing children and look there today. I want to read about men who come out not even pay because you are hating somebody among engagement.
level of inequality. Hold on, where? That's a DA from the President Barack Obama under the theme renewing the Diva legacy and citizenship. The home.
Settlements, interested persons and stakeholders to submit comments Agency Affairs Act of 1976 to provide for the Isa Ndende at parliament.gov.za the 10th of August 2018 or to obtain this information is brought to you a this who's also SG of the Pan-African Women Organization. We have Dr. Trinette Joseph, who's a lecturer in coordinating at CU. Also have who is SRC chair at Mulberry campus, and we also graced by men, and we urgently need you. Zulu voice. Nothing about us without Mensiki Sisulu has graced us. It's in your bloodstream. Rating, and I figure this. You live the qualities that Mama Sisulu attributed.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to the Deputy. And there's a poster in which courageous. Another in the
not or Ecubana is where it's going.
Saki and the listeners, I think the questions that you have posed are very, very important. And it's a worrying factor that today we start to see many of our leaders and many of our people that we hold in high esteem being in a situation. But as South Africans, we must also be, we are, everybody should face what he did. In the organization where I come from, which is ANC, there are systems in place, and I think the Integrity Commission is there to deal with some of these things. So, not go away with murder. There's somewhere where you'll be nailed, where some of these things will be dealt with, so that at the end, sanity prevails. So, we really are saying, don't even wait to be by the law and all those things. Rather, prevention is better than cure. Desist from doing those wrong things. Don't be part of the statistics of men who beat up women, of men, other women or children, and so on. Please be a... And I of patriarchy and matriarchy. We are saying we are a society that must live in a very peaceful way, men and women together, because we can't afford to be living alone as women or men living alone as themselves. So we have to find a way where ourselves we are able to appreciate, complement each other, and live in harmony. And that's one of the things that Mama Sisulu have taught us. They confronted some of the challenges, including patriarchy itself. I mean, Mama Sisulu led amongst men, and she showed all of us to say, women also have capacity, and they can lead and sacrifice and do all these things. And remember, they even had multiple chores that they needed to deal with. As a mother, as a caregiver, as a professional, as a leader in politics and all things. But she managed to balance all those things. And things that all of us must appreciate. Of course, supported by our male counterparts and ourselves who are ready to support them. So let's hold hands, each one of us.
And I guess that we're going to regard as the closing remarks of our Deputy Minister, because I did mention drama as well as SAFM radio. So we're now fast moving.
Kaloku ngoku kwakukhulwa kwakukho izintonjane apho kwakudibana ii-groups zamantombazana nezafana imitshotsho emtshotshweni wawungaphumi wedwa kokwenu intombazana. You have to be escorted by a boy who is known. Abantu singabagrumani into ephambili bathanda i-peer pressure, peer group ahamba nayo. Nathi siyafeyila njengoba umama wathi ayafana from the womb ababahlulayo. Now bandiphendula umbuzo wakho.
Enkosi mama uphendulile. And Mama makes reference to initiation where girls were groomed on how to be. And I guess that goes for boys as well. Siyabulela mama. Enkosi kakhulu.
We cannot transform and decolonize without including gender mainstreaming to advance gender equality. It was inspiring to be part of the dialogue tonight to celebrate the life of Mama Sisulu. And I think the way forward is for us to continue to forge strong partnerships with government departments, such as the Department of Arts and Culture, to optimize the resources that we can use for gender equality.
Please lift it up.
I'm not sure what you lost. It was inspiring to be part of this dialogue tonight. I think the way forward is for us to continue to forge strong partnerships with government departments such as the Department of Arts and Culture to optimize the resources that we can use for gender equality, to build on Mama Sisulu's legacy. Watinti Bafasi. Uzakufa.
Uzakufa. Go ahead, Ms. Faith Sibia.
Thank you again for the opportunity. I think that as a society, we need to change how we talk. We need to change how we speak. There's a saying that I don't really like that says, behind every strong black man, there's a... Why behind? To her. Why not next to him? And also, at the same time, also not in front, because we're trying to fight against the patriarchy, because oppression of women by men is wrong, same as the oppression of men by women is wrong. So, society and say next to each and every woman or man that is strong, there's a strong woman, but a strong woman. So I think we really need to change that. And another thing, we need to teach ourselves not that's written is bear a blesser's gift. And when you read the book, they speak with these rich people that are elite exchange sexual transactions. It's either for money or for increase in rank of power. Another interview, she says, you know what, I'm still getting DMs from young women asking me, how can I be part of that? And that's questionable. That's wrong. We need to teach ourselves to stop being ignorant as young girls and use each and every space we have to occupy and show our presence. Thank you.
When I listen to such, I can safely conclude that the future is in the right hands. recognizing
Is he facing conspiracy? What is the nature of the corruption charges that he faces? But if it's a blatant kind of corruption case, he faces a potential 15 years in prison. And lest we forget, his father is in the dock in a few weeks' time, also facing corruption charges. So those parallels between father and son and the regime change in South Africa and what's happening with our courts at the moment will be something that is profoundly interesting, I think, to all South Africans.
SABC News celebrates Women's Month.
Congolese President Joseph Kabila will not stand for re-election in December, with his governing coalition choosing his close ally Emmanuel Shadrai to run in his place. An MDC Alliance principal, Tendai Biti, is released after his arrest at the Chirundu border post earlier today. And China to levy additional 25% tariffs on another $16 billion of US goods as a countermeasure to the US tariff hike. Hello and welcome to The Globe. My name is Mpho Tsedu and thank you very much for joining us. Let's go to our top story now. Democratic Republic of Congo President Joseph Kabila has decided to step aside and not seek re-election in December. His governing coalition has chosen former Interior Minister Emmanuel Ramazani Shadrai to be his successor in the upcoming elections. A government statement came just hours before the deadline for lodging applications for the December 23rd election.
President Kabila, who has been in power for 17 years, should have stepped down at the end of 2016 when he reached a two-term limit. But igniting angry demonstrations, he stayed on thanks to a constitutional clause enabling the president to remain in office until a new president is elected. Opponents staged protests that turned violent, triggering angry condemnations from the United States and the European Union. Late Tuesday, Kabila held talks with his political allies, who are joined in an electoral platform called the Common Front for Congo, on picking a candidate who would succeed him. The fate of opposition leader Moise Katumbi, who was barred from entering the country last week to lodge his candidacy, has caused political friction ahead of the registration deadline. Katumbi, a wealthy businessman and former governor of the province of Katanga, was unable to cross the border from Zambia, where he and his team remain as of Wednesday. A country of some 80 million people, the DRC has never known a peaceful government transition since